Hello, everybody. Welcome to Torn Tuesday. Very special Tuesday. We're coming live from Khazad-dûm. There's a waterfall over there. I don't know if you can hear the echoes. How y'all doing? This is it's pretty cold and damp in here. Oh, there's something over here. Sweet. Well, let's look over the. Oh, look, there's all the greens. There's where they grow the food. You can see the sunlight comes from over there, in the corner, or over there. Now I think there's a big metal dish that comes over there. But yeah, there's I count 1, 2, 3 waterfalls down there. A big one over there, 4. And then there's one right behind me. If we look behind me, what do you think? Should we go over there? It says no entry unless official business. I'm kind of scared. What if that's where the Balrog is? Also, there's no guardrails. This whole place is not compliant with OSHA safety. There's no handrails. Anyone could just slip and fall to their doom. I mean, look how
Well, that happens.
look how
Doesn't
far
that
it
happen in
goes.
every Star Wars movie? Aren't they always walking around on high platforms and catwalks without railings? That happens in every Star Wars movie, and that's why so many of these actors fall or plunge to their death in, you know, power
That's what
reactors or
that's what Kevin Smith talked about. Think of the workers building the Death Star. I mean, safety regulations don't exist, and they definitely
it would
don't
seem
exist
not.
here in Khazad-dûm. So,
Definitely
um,
not.
so there you go.
Funny.
There's Khazad-dûm. There's some. Again, I'm nervous to go in there. I don't know if you can
Oh
see
my
that,
goodness, what are you nervous about?
but
You're
that
hilarious.
that doorway. I don't know where that doorway goes. Um.
Hmm.
So all right. Well. Uh. Cliff, how's it going? I'm coming to you
Hello,
live from
everybody.
Khazad-dûm. This is Torn Tuesday, your weekly dose of Lord of the Rings and Dwarven
That's funny.
content. We've got so much Dwarven content to talk to you about today, but
We have quite a few fascinating things happening, and not the least of which is everybody trying to find out what happened to Sir Ian Mckellen. And we have updates on his health. We have news, information, analysis, and oh, maybe a small amount of Green Dragon gossip for you all. Welcome again. Welcome to Torn Tuesday. Thank you. Thank you, Justin, for starting off the show with such a remarkable walkthrough, a walkthrough of Khazad-dûm. This looks really, really cool.
yeah,
You're
it
doing the whole
is, and
VR
it
thing,
in
and
in the
that's
headset,
so cool. Look
it's
at that. Look at
totally
that.
smooth. It's like 60 frames per second. It's totally smooth. It doesn't look like it's totally smooth in the headset. But I'm
Mhm.
transmitting it wirelessly. Again, you can see no wires on me. Look, Ma, I got no strings to hold me down. And that's, I think, the causing
Funny.
the frame rate delay for the live stream. So
Is that what it is?
I see. There's my mic. I see
The
all the
frame rate
chat
delay.
room
I like
happening. So
I can see everyone. Hello, everyone in the chat. Look, there's some very excited people who got their tickets for 4DX screenings of The Lord of the Rings this weekend. I'm with you guys in the chat. It's a very exciting time. Very
Cliff and
exciting
I,
indeed.
spoiler alert, Cliff and I have watched the entirety of Fellowship of the Ring, and we held
Oh, it's
off
just
to
so
watch the
cool.
Two
It's so
Towers of
cool.
Return of the King with you guys. So if you guys, any
Yeah.
of you are going to the North Hollywood screening this weekend. I think Cliff and I will be there. I'll be there. Um,
I
so
will be there as well. We will both be there. And Justin will have to make sure he takes off his 24 karat gold virtual thingy that's on his head right now so that he can really experience, the massive 4DX
can you imagine watching
experience.
watching the movie with the headset on? I mean, 4DX is as close to you get
Uh,
is better than a virtual reality movie.
well, I didn't we talk about the fact that Hobbit films being in 48 frames per second would lend itself, perhaps more than the earlier trilogy. Perhaps the Hobbit trilogy could be somehow transposed into a VR viewing environment because of the frame rate, because of the high, rate of data at which it was filmed. So I'm really intrigued by that concept, really.
Yeah.
Maybe someday, we will be getting VR versions of what is otherwise, a film that we watch on our home theater system. But it might be something you experience in your VR headset
Well,
sometime soon, perhaps.
like we said on last week's show, and we posted the clip on social. 4DX is this
Yes.
weekend. It's one weekend only. It's all three movies. It's extended edition. The seats move. They don't just shake. They move. There's water effects. There's smoke effects. There's strobe light effects. It is the most incredible. And there's wind. So much wind. You feel like you're running around with Aragorn the whole movie. It's kind of exhausting how much wind is. But, that's how much traveling they do. So get your tickets. The
Yes.
link is in the description to Fathom Events ticket
Yes.
website where you can get tickets for this weekend in 4DX. We want to sell out all those shows because I want more things. Cliff, I wanted to open the
Yes.
show from Khazad-dûm here because again we were
Indeed.
talking about OSHA guidelines and safety rails. There's no safety rails on any of these platforms, and we joked about Star Wars, but it's no joke. When you fall, you can get hurt, and that's what happened with Ian Mckellen. He wasn't in
Yes, it is.
Khazad-dûm. He was on the London stage in the West End, wasn't he?
He was at the Noel Coward Theater performing on Monday. This Monday just passed. I believe it was Monday, June 16th. No, it was Monday the 17th. No, wait, when did this happen? Did this happen yesterday?
Yesterday.
Gosh, it's just been one whole day, and I've been completely wiped out of my brain in a 24-hour news cycle because there's so much happening. Um, I have now posted into the YouTube chat the main page article that I just published on the main site of the OneRing.net. And let's get some additional information, okay? Because not all the information you're getting from everyone is correct. And that's one of the main things that I wanted to start with. Not everything that you are reading about Sir Ian's condition is correct. So if you're going to Deadline, they have it wrong. All right? That's maybe some other places will be picking up and repeating the
There's
information straight from Deadline, but Deadline is
and
wrong. Their
loyal
sources are wrong. Yeah,
followers of the show will know in
yeah,
recent weeks we've been sharing. Cliff has been sharing a ton of stories because he used to work with Mckellen.com and Mckellen himself.
sure.
So this
I
is
sure
as
did.
close to the real information as you can get. Cliff, the floor is yours.
I'm just going to read it straight up because it's really not long. This is a very short thing. World-renowned and beloved thespian, Sir Ian Mckellen, continues his recovery after treatment from National Health Services doctors and specialists, immediately after a stage accident that occurred during the current run of Player Kings in London's West End. His fall from the stage and subsequent treatment has been widely publicized. However, specific reports are quite wrong, and the OneRing.net has exclusive information to help assuage any fears that Sir Ian's injury was worse than it is. Continuing, we are hearing many reports that Sir Ian has fractured bones in his wrist, including this report from Deadline. But this
We're
is
not going to talk
factually
about the fake news. So, Cliff, just get on with
incorrect.
it. What happened?
I'm
and tell
I'm
us.
reading.
We don't need the
I am.
whole article. If you want to read the whole
Oh,
article, go to theonering.net. Cliff's here to give
okay.
you the
Well,
straight dope.
it's only a couple of paragraphs, but at the urging of my co-host and producer, perhaps I can crystallize it for you. If you hear anything that says the word broken, it's wrong. If you hear the words sprained, that is correct. There you go. That's it. And what's more interesting is that the information that came from Claire Dobbs, which is Sir Ian's publicist, she said that he is so grateful for all of the help and support and the kind messages that have come in from the fandom. And he's actually recovering quite nicely at a nearby hospital. And he says, again, he's hugely indebted to the doctors and the nurses and the specialists who work at the NHS. And they have assured him, quote unquote, they have assured me that my recovery will be complete and speedy, and I'm looking forward to returning to work. Now, the thing about returning to work is that the people running the Noel Coward Theater said the show must go on. That's the number one thing in show business. Always. Aside from the great advice that you should never, ever, ever work with kids or animals, that's the number two rule of show business is that the show must go on. And the statement from the theater is saying that they're going to reopen the play on Thursday, the 19th of June. And they say that they're delighted that Ian is recovering well and look forward to him, quote unquote, look forward to him returning to the production as soon as he is ready. This statement from the theater gives more than a mild suggestion that the understudy will be playing Falstaff in the Thursday night show at Noel Coward Theater until such time that Ian really feels like he's back to basics and ready to get back on stage playing Falstaff. So he might have a few more days, who knows, might be a week until Ian gets back into the role, but the theater is not going to stay dark for many, many days. They're immediately going back with their live show on Thursday, but that does not mean that Sir Ian himself will be back on stage on Thursday. They're allowing him that bandwidth to take the time he needs to recover. So again, if you read anything anywhere that says he broke his wrist, it is wrong. It's only a sprained wrist. It is really a relief. In my personal opinion, it is a relief that at 85 years old, he has nothing broken. And he's just got a sprained wrist. Thank God it was not his ankles. And that means he can get back to work probably sooner than anyone expects. So it's all good news from here. There you go.
That's excellent news. And let's remind people, because Matt, Nerd of the Rings, watched this actual performance in London
He sure did.
recently.
He sure did.
And
yes.
In the play, Ian Mckellen gets into a brawl. He was in an action sequence. He was fighting someone when he slipped and fell off stage and sprained his wrist. This isn't a feeble old man, as headlines would have said over the last several months of like, Ian Mckellen, would he do it? Will it be his last role? Ian Mckellen is currently on stage fighting his fellow actors
doing stage
physically,
combat.
doing stage combat 6 days a week.
6 days a week.
6 days a week. So when it comes to his stamina of rejoining Lord of the Rings and future movies, whether it's Hunt for Gollum or others, the fact is the dude just did battles on stage and just got a mild sprain of the wrist. Come on.
Not bad.
This
Not
guy's
bad.
bulletproof.
He is. And I'm encouraged. I'm really encouraged because, in another 30 years, when I'm at 85, and if I fall down on stage, I would really, really be grateful if it was something as minor as that. I'd really be so grateful because, look, somebody posted online and said, why the heck is he filming anyways? Why is he shooting anything? He should be relaxing at home with grandchildren and not be running around all crazy.
A man needs to work.
I said to the people online, and I'll say it to everyone here in my audience, he wants to work. He is at the heightened prime of his life. as a thespian. He, like I said before, Ian McKellen is one of the best examples of good, clean living, and he's ready to go. He's going to get up to 111 years old, and he's still going to want to be on stage working and working his butt off with integrity for the theater. And you look, if you don't work on stage and you've never really been a stage actor, there's something uncommon. Other TV actors and film actors, it's just not the same thing. They don't have the same rate of dedication. When you're in the theater, your level of dedication to the performing arts is non-compare. There's nothing else on earth that compares to your integrity as a stage actor and your commitment to the show must go on. It is the essence of why live theater is so revered. It is, it's why we just had the Tony Awards just a few nights ago. And the world of theater is very special because you don't get a take two. You don't cut off the camera and restage the lights and say, okay, we'll get a different angle, we'll reshoot it. It's not like that. It's live. Everything is organic. Everything is continuing in a very real and visceral way. And that is the magic of what stagecraft is all about. And it's hard to explain unless you've lived it and been there. But I'm just so thrilled that Ian did not have major injuries, that someone at his age would cause him to be removed from that thing that he loves so much. He has dedicated his life in a special way to the performing arts. That is one of the reasons why he got knighted. That is one of the reasons why he's been acknowledged for his contributions to the art form in the history of the kingdom. And that's why he's a Sir Ian, because
all
of
right,
that
you heard it here. You heard it
integrity.
here from the closest source you could possibly get exclusively on Torn Tuesday, according to
exactly.
Clifford Broadway sources. Nothing is broken. It is just a sprain of the wrist.
And he's ready to go. He's going to be ready to go in probably a surprising amount of time. It's just such good news. Very good news all around. And can I personally say, Ian, we are very hopeful and prayerful for you and your recovery. And hopefully you're not in any discomfort or any pain and you can get back to where you want to be. That is our prayer for you. Okay.
Cliff, we have breaking news right now. This is hot off the press. The official Comic-Con 2024 San Diego Comic-Con badges have been revealed. They have been mailed out. And let me remind you, this is what was there 2 years ago. 2 years ago when Season 1 was coming out for Rings of Power, every single badge, 200,000 badges, had this beautiful Rings of Power artwork. Who knew that it wasn't a sword? It was just a key. And so there you go. This was the badge to all of them. Press, exhibitor, regular badges, all had the same Rings of Power design. We expect that Rings of Power will be coming back to Comic-Con this year because Season 2 is just 2 months away. And we expect Amazon to really promote the heck out of Season 2 of Rings of Power. So, without further ado, let's bring it to the SDCC blog and show you exactly the new badge. Folks, here we go. Drum roll, please. Hot off the presses.
It's Paramount Plus. And it's Paramount Plus, everybody.
It's not any movie on Paramount Plus. It's not a TV show on Paramount Plus.
It's not anything. It's just the logo for Paramount Plus.
It is Paramount, of course, is a company that is for sale, and I believe as of Friday there is a new deal in place to sell the company Paramount and Viacom to a new owner. But no matter what, no matter whose management, it looks like Amazon stepped away from the cost of badges. Cliff, we heard rumors, there have been other reports from other websites that the budget for Season 2 and 3 of Rings of Power has gone down. Our sources have said the budgets have stayed the same because Amazon was very happy with the success and the numbers of season 1. If it worked last time, why wouldn't you do the same thing this time? But it
That
looks
makes
like
sense.
the badges, the awesome Rings of Power badges from season 1, are not to be repeated for season 2. Folks, yes, that is correct. That is the full entirety of the badge for Comic-Con this
I
year.
have to say it's really underwhelming. That is really underwhelming. It does not it does not excite the senses, does it?
Um,
It does
no.
not excite the senses, I'm afraid.
All right. Well, we got nothing else to say. Let's move on. In
Well, yeah,
in
what else
science
can you
news, according to
say?
phys.org, a new veggie piranha-like species is now named after a Tolkien villain. That's right. Tolkien, the
Oh
scientists
my goodness.
are
Oh my
naming
goodness.
piranhas veggie
Oh
piranhas,
goodness.
vegetarian piranhas.
Meaning the piranhas will not eat you and chew the flesh off of your bones when you fall into the water. These fish are herbivores? Since when? Since when are fish herbivores?
So,
Come on.
Cliff,
What?
you want to take
What's happening here?
Do you want to take a crack at the name? What name they chose to name a veggie piranha?
I'm gonna guess Smaug for some reason. I don't know what.
You
What?
know, I love the chat room saying carrots, like Peter Jackson eats the carrots in all the movies.
It's
I
so
like that.
silly.
Carrots beware.
This is so silly.
Carrots beware. Let's
This is-
scroll down. A new
What is this?
vegetarian
Where did you-
piranha-like species discovered by scientists in the Brazilian Amazon. Not to be
Where did
confused
you
with the
find this?
Amazon company. The Brazilian Amazon has been named Sauron.
Oh dear.
Scientists formally described and named the Myloplus sauron because of its round body and distinctive orange and black markings closely resemble the infamous evil eye. It is a new
I don't see it.
species. I see it.
Well, I do see the
it.
mark. I see the mark on it. That
It
looks
looks
like a
like
cat's eye. The-
It looks like a cat's eye, and
Looks
this
like a
is
cat's eye.
obviously a
Yeah.
dead one. But supposedly, when they're alive, their color is more vibrantly orange. So
Orange. Oh dear. Well, okay. Oh dear.
So there you go.
Oh, dear.
The Amazon River has a new vegetarian piranha that they've named after Sauron. Speaking
Oh,
of
dear.
international news, Cliff, this
dear.
was incredible to see, and I want your reaction because you saw this news. Viggo Mortensen brought his brand new film, The Dead Don't Hurt, to
He sure did.
the Ukraine. Cliff, this might be the first movie to do any marketing in Ukraine. Have you heard anything else like it?
No,
Be
I mean
rolled out in the Ukraine.
I mean, they're a country at war, so I didn't know that they were rolling out any films in Ukraine. So I find all of that very surprising, really.
So incredible, folks.
It's really awesome.
A lot of actors have charities and platforms they support, and they'll use their platform, their big social media followings to
Yes, that's right.
highlight some activism work. In fact, Nazanin Boniadi from Rings of Power made made a lot of effort to use her giant platform to highlight atrocities against women in Iran.
Yes.
This is the first time, Cliff, I've seen an A-list actor like Viggo Mortensen take his movie to Ukraine. Just incredible.
Me too.
This guy
I've never
walks
seen that
the
happen.
walk. Viggo walks
It's
the
true.
walk,
It's true.
people. He doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk. This is incredible. Hollywood actor Viggo Mortensen came to Western Ukraine, bringing his new film. Cliff, you've seen the film. How is it?
It's wonderful. It's just a wonderful, wonderful film. And it is it's just a gorgeously produced character piece. It is a slightly moody Western that centers on humanism and generosity in the face of crazy things that happened in the Old West. And it's just such a what a unique approach to telling the Western. Um, it's a lovely drama, a lovely small scale drama that is drawn in the sharpest lines with intelligence and a beautiful, beautiful approach to really telling the story.
Chat
Um,
room people in chat room have seen it. It is now out in theaters in the U.S. and the U.K.
oh yes,
Carrington says it is a great film. The music was wonderful and the views were beautiful. So
absolutely.
go if you can't get tickets to the 4DX Lord of the Rings this weekend because not every theater has 4DX. Try to find a local art house cinema that is showing The Dead Don't Hurt, written, directed, starring, and scored by Viggo himself. And I hope he brings all of that creative
Oh yes,
brilliance to Middle
yeah,
Earth
absolutely.
pretty soon. So I'm
I
just
agree.
so
And
proud
have
of
you
this
seen it
guy.
yet, sir? Have you had a chance, Justin, to go and see it yet?
I
Not
have
yet?
not. I have not.
Oh, it's
Uh,
such a lovely, lovely film. It's so lovely.
so
Um, yeah,
amazing,
Jane
but
Campion, famous Oscar-winning director Jane Campion, compared the film to Days of Heaven, which is a Terrence Malick classic. Me, I compared it with a slight caveat to Clint Eastwood's Oscar-winning Unforgiven. Now, this is a great bandwidth. If you're like, whoa, a little bit Terrence Malick, a little bit Days of Heaven, and maybe a little bit Unforgiven, and you put it together with Vigo's story sensibilities. And his sensibilities as a director are absolutely pitch perfect. He's right on point where he needs to be with this film. And I
and
loved it.
this is the
I
movie
loved it.
that
Really loved it.
Anduril has a cameo. Yes, the sword Anduril has a
Oh,
cameo
yes,
in it.
famously, quite
Uh,
famously. Yes.
Other international news, man, so much is happening
Let's bring it.
all
Bring it.
over the world. Warner Brothers today debuted
Yes.
explosive new footage of Joker 2 and showed off a bunch of footage from War of the Rohirrim. This is crazy. As you know, Annecy was last week, and we'll get into that in a sec. But as I'm scrolling down, um, it says Peter Jackson was also on hand to introduce extensive footage from The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim, the animation set in the world of Tolkien that takes place before Lord of the Rings. It is our understanding that they showed the same first 20 minutes that they showed at Annecy to Europe Cineworld, which is a theater owner convention to get theater owners hype for movies coming out this Christmas. So this is exciting. This is the first time Peter Jackson has mentioned or promoted the War of the Rohirrim himself. Up till last week, nobody knew that he was even involved in
That's
this
right.
anime movie. And
That's right.
now that it has been announced, this is the first time, as of today, this is the first time Peter Jackson has personally connected himself to this movie.
Yes, indeed. That's a nice surprise that he's becoming part of the marketing now. This is the first time that Peter Jackson is directly becoming part of the marketing. And for those in our audience who might not know, it seems that the Cine Europe show is probably most analogous to the Las Vegas CinemaCon that we have here in the United States, where the studios start to present their early previews of some of the biggest things they're about to release in movie theaters, so that the theater owners, they're the exhibitors. That is the proper term. The theater exhibitors are getting a really strong taste of what's going to happen for their business through the rest of the year.
Well, so this is exciting that Peter is screening this
Very.
anime film.
It's
Speaking
very exciting.
of more Peter Jackson news, gosh, this is just jam-packed with news today.
Hmm.
We can officially confirm that Peter Jackson is definitely still working on the Tintin sequel.
Now
clip.
that's funny to me. There's moments that happen in movie history, and people are like, "Why? Why is this happening?" Okay, but here's the reason. Okay, when there was all this talk about, oh, they're bringing out a new Beetlejuice movie. It's the sequel from a movie from 30 years, 35 years ago, and
We're not
everyone is
talking about
thrilled.
Beetlejuice. We're talking about
No,
Tintin, which is a movie that came out in
no,
2011, right
we
before the
are
Hobbit
talk
movies.
we are actually the point I'm trying to make, if you'll allow me to make this point, is that there's a big difference in audience appetite when there's a long, long delay in between sequels for films. Let's look at some of the movies that have had some of the most
Let's not,
protracted
and let's
delays
just talk
between
about
sequels.
Tintin starred Andy Serkis as the
And you don't,
the
you
side
you have
character, and it came
no
out in
concern that
2011, and it was directed by Steven Spielberg, but produced by Peter Jackson. And the deal was, do you remember the deal that Steven Spielberg made with Peter Jackson?
they were going to switch roles. One person produce, one person direct. The next movie, switch. Director, producer, switch roles. That was
But
the whole point. But there's been such a protracted delay in between now and what they're trying to work on as a sequel. And you don't think that's going to impact it in some way?
well,
Okay. All right.
originally
Fine.
when
That's fine.
Peter Jackson
That's
made
fine.
this deal, he wasn't
Okay.
directing the Hobbit movies. Guillermo del Toro was, but we all know that
Oh, that's
story.
right.
So
That was
Peter got
happening then.
distracted
Yes.
with the Hobbit trilogy, and then he got distracted with World War One documentaries, and then he got distracted with the Beatles documentary, which went on and won some Emmys. So Peter's
Yes, some Emmys. Yes.
Peter
Yes, that's true.
has been working this
true.
whole time. He just never got around to it. And the only reason we know is this French intrepid blogger found Andy Serkis after
It's funny.
hours on the street after dinner and
Oh,
had
look at
one
that.
question for him. Will Peter work on a Tintin sequel? And Andy Serkis responded, Peter Jackson is definitely working on it. This is
I'm
huge
excited.
news because
I mean,
Peter
look.
has said he's not directing the new Lord of the Rings movies. He's only producing them.
I'm excited to see another Tintin movie. They are really cool. I mean, really detailed and really cool with some of the most familiar characters from comics history. I love this stuff. I think it's cool. I would just not want to see it have any lackluster performance because it's been so long since the other one, first appeared. But that's neither here nor there. What's interesting is that you and I, Justin, have speculated for a long time that Peter was going to go way, way, way over with his needle going to documentary work, Beatles work, more documentary work. And that was because of They Shall Not Grow Old, the World War I 3D documentary, and then his Emmy award-winning work on Get Back with the Beatles with Apple Films. So maybe we were wrong. Maybe it's another occurrence where we were not exactly right in thinking Peter's going to stop directing narrative films and he's going to drive all of his focus just into documentary work. And we did speculate that for quite a while. Now it's nice to know that he's getting involved
He's
as
getting
an
back in the
executive
game
producer.
on these
He's getting back
big
in the game as a
movies.
regular director. He is getting way back into the game and not just going to sequester himself into an area of documentary production. So, interesting development. Very.
It's huge
Very.
news. Now,
It is. It
the
is,
Adventures
really.
of Tintin did much better overseas than it did in the USA because Tintin just has no cultural footprint. None of us here in America really grew up with Tintin. We didn't really have comics. There wasn't a big distributor.
Unless you're those weird comic book nerds like me who went to other countries for sources of manga and European comics and all kinds of sources. But that's just,
Right.
I'm that kind of nerd.
It wasn't
Yeah.
distributed here.
Yeah.
The old cartoons, the old comic books. We just don't know. Americans don't know
Yeah.
about Tintin. That movie, directed by Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Steven Spielberg
Of all
directed
people.
this. Okay.
Yes.
He
Yes.
introduced Tintin to American audiences. And I'm
Fresh
telling
after
you,
working on Munich, he went to work on Tintin, which is quite a
sequel
thing.
movie
Quite a thing.
would probably do much better at the box office. The first movie did $300 million worldwide.
Yeah.
I think a second movie, now that most of America knows about Tintin,
Yeah.
would do even better. Now is the time. And as much as we love Peter Jackson, I kind of want the best of both worlds. So let other
Yes.
directors, Andy Serkis,
Yes.
whoever else, keep doing movies. Peter just produces. He's just a guiding hand. But if Peter wants to jump fully back into Tintin, I
Yes.
fully encourage that. But we got some more in the last week. We got updated, more detailed descriptions of the Annecy footage. Last week, it was breaking news
Yes.
that they just had the panel, but now we have more detailed descriptions of this. And
Do you know what is? I still can't get over the surprise that this production, this animation, is half an hour longer than we reported last year. I mean, I'm still gobsmacked by that development. That instead of cutting back and spending less money, they've expanded the film to be a half an hour longer, which is incredibly ambitious and more expensive. So I'm thrilled. I'm really quite thrilled at this. But I have to admit, it is still surprising.
Well,
Now,
so the actual description, it says Hera, a character invented for the project. I don't agree with that. They just named a character. She was not invented.
no, that's an incorrect descriptor. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So take this guy's opinion with a grain of salt, because he got it wrong in the first sentence. But a young woman in Eowyn's lineage. Hold on. Wait a minute. Is that accurate? Is Eowyn related to Helm Hammerhand? I don't think she is.
I think that there is. I think there's. Let me pull out my copy of Return of the King, and I will look at the genealogy table.
Well, I'll let the chat
I'll
chat
take
room
a quick
can
look
it up. The Tolkien Gateway, but so
I think that there is a distant relation connection. And to answer your question, in the chat, we're looking at maybe 2.5 hours full runtime. That's our speculation. It'll be
nearly 2
2.5
hours 30 minutes, making it one of the top
2.5
10
hours.
longest anime films in history.
Yes.
So spoiler alert. This is actual footage from the actual movie. This is a hard description. So spoiler alert. Mute.
Uh-oh,
and then,
here comes the spoiler.
And then I'll give you the thumbs up when you can unmute if you don't want to know. But
Okay.
Hera is to marry a Lord of Gondor by her dad's rule. Dad is Helm Hammerhand, King of Rohan. So Hera is supposed to marry Lord of Gondor. The leader of the Dunlendings, Freka, wants her to marry his son instead. There's a big argument over the Lord of the Dunlendings and the King of Rohan. And basically, the King of Rohan has his way because he's King Helm Hammerhand. The film begins with the theme of Rohan composed by Howard Shore from the original trilogy. We follow Hera as she rides in the mountains to feed, rides on a horse in the mountains to feed 2 eagles before returning home and witnessing this confrontation that is about to happen. It says,
Now,
Wolf, the son.
That's a full spoiler. That's
Dunlendings.
full spoiler of the opening scene, actually. Yes. Full spoiler.
The Dunlending son, Wolf, one of the main protagonists of the movie, will fight a battle against the Rohirrims. The sequence shown ended with a quick assembly of a few things. Hera fighting Wolf, the kid that wants to be married to her, a battle sequence in a famous gulf, giant elephants, and some more mysterious shots, possibly the Ents.
Ooh, wow.
Cliff, this is the first time we've heard any hint of Ents.
Whoa.
Tell me about the Ents in the time of Rohan, because if I recall from the movies, Rohan doesn't have a lot of trees.
Well, the Ents were at that, I'm sure at this time of the story, the Ents were being very, very sleepy and isolationist. So I can't imagine the kingdom of Rohan or any of its citizens having an encounter with the Ents. And I honestly cannot easily imagine how that would happen unless they went wandering far north to the northern boundaries of the kingdom of Rohan and into the eaves, the most southern eaves of Fangorn Forest. And maybe,
Well,
who knows? Who knows?
there is past prologue from the
Oh,
extended edition only of Two Towers. If you recall correctly, only in the extended edition do we see at the end of Two Towers, at the end of the Battle of Helm's Deep, when the orcs retreat from Helm's Deep, suddenly there's a forest that came out of nowhere.
and those are not the Ents. Those are the Huorns. It was not mentioned in the film, but in the book, the technical word is the Huorns
Would the
were
Ents
sent.
have told the Huorns to move then?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah.
So that's what I'm talking
The
about.
Ents were directly responsible for that
All
happening.
right.
Yes.
So there you go. There is prologue to a relationship between Ents and Rohan in the extended edition, and it feels like they might be setting up that relationship in this prequel movie. Cliff, how does that make you feel? Are you shocked, surprised, puzzled? What's your
No,
what's your
I'm not
dominant
shocked. I'm not.
emotion?
I think that's a little bit enigmatic. It's a little bit enigmatic to see how uh, the Ents were having any specific relations with the kingdom of Rohan, and you're right. Most of Rohan, geographically speaking, was covered by wide grasslands, fields, open fields of grass. You would call it something like the Great Plains experience, similar to the Great Plains experience here in North America, except not such a vast area. But the plains, the open plains of Rohan, are where all the horses could live and survive. I don't think there would have been much need for the people who are tending horses as their life, as their culture, to have been habitating or going into heavily forested areas. So, if something comes up in the War of the Rohirrim that will tangentially connect this period of Rohan's history and having conversations with the Ents, well, it might be quite by accident. I don't know. I really am not sure how this could all fit in yet.
Cliff,
Because the Ents don't play a part in what ultimately happens with the tragedy of Helm Hammerhand. The Ents are not involved in this.
it
So
means
I do
that
wonder
the
what this would be
scope
like.
of this story has grown if there's Ents.
Indeed.
But the thing that
Indeed.
I am
Indeed.
most excited about this Ent shout out, because the format of Japanese animation lends itself to the most incredible Ent animation, better
Yeah, it
than
could.
any realistic movie-based Ent that we've seen before.
Hmm.
I actually think Ents in this anime film could be the greatest Ents we could ever see on screen. There's so many things you can do with animation as far as characterization and personalization, and I mean, just think of what you can
I
do with
agree.
an Ent in animation.
I agree.
I'm so hype about this.
I agree. I totally agree. The character design and the way that the animation can convey what the
Like
Ents are
little
like.
leaves sprouting,
Um,
the things they could
now,
do with like branches growing and
yeah,
like
yeah.
the Ents reaching. We thought we were going to see Ents in season 1 of Rings of Power. Remember, the teaser trailer teased us for Ents, and then we didn't even get an Ent. So it's crazy to think
Yes.
that we might,
Yes.
our first Ents in 20 years might be this anime for War of the Rohirrim. That's incredible.
To answer, it is an incredible concept, and I think it's really cool, but it's still a bit enigmatic to me. And to answer during the 7th in the live chat, I do not believe the Rohirrim gave the name Fangorn, because Fangorn is actually Treebeard's name. Treebeard's name, his actual name, and I believe it's in Sindarin, is Fangorn. And so I
So
don't
that's
think that
his
was a
forest.
Rohirrim.
Okay.
It's yeah, and the forest is named with his name entirely.
It's like
But let me
Helm's
double
Deep
check.
Helm's Deep is named after
Yes.
Helm, the guy in this movie.
Yes.
So that he doesn't say we're going to Helm's Deep. He just goes, we're going to the deep. Cliff, the other thing that this French report says is 2 question marks. There is as well a shadow man collecting rings.
Oh, guess what? Just to answer, during the 7th, the Rohirrim called the place Entwood. All right.
There you go.
The Rohirrim did have their own name for it. They called it Entwood. So
Cliff,
at least we have that. Yeah.
There's a shadow man collecting rings in one of the shots.
Oh, is there?
That's what's described.
Oh, really? Collecting rings? What's that about? What does that mean?
Is
Uh-oh,
that
what does that mean?
Saruman? Is that Saruman trying to find the One Ring already?
Makes me wonder. It makes me wonder. It sure could be.
Okay. Well,
It sure could be.
that's
Whoa,
not the
that's
only
intriguing.
report. Let's go to another report from Little Big Animation. Again, both of
Okay.
these articles are translated from French, so I apologize if something's not translating. But this is a second detailed description. Again, spoiler alert, I haven't given you a thumbs up yet. So spoiler alert for
Spoilers are still
the movie.
happening?
Yes.
Lots of spoilers still happening. Okay. Okay.
The film
All right.
begins. War of the Rohirrim. The film begins with Eowyn's
Wow.
voiceover narrating the context of the time in which the action takes place. The camera flies over a map of Middle Earth. And after a tracking shot forward and a fade, we now follow the eagles between the mountains.
Ooh, that sounds cool.
Before accompanying Hera, Princess of Rohan, on a ride, it ends up stopping at the top of a mound to give a huge piece of meat to the eagles, who are in fact large eagles. Hera tries to interact with one of them and almost manages to touch him, but he pushes her away and takes flight again. Stephen Gallagher's music is very similar to that composed of Howard Shore and takes up the Rohirrim musical motif. A few transition shots of Hera on horseback bring us back to Edoras, and the capital of Rohan has never looked more beautiful.
Ooh,
Cliff.
that sounds great. That sounds great.
Does animation lend itself to Lord of the Rings in this way? How could they make Edoras look more beautiful than us flying in with Eowyn's white dress blowing in the wind and that single mound in the valley? I don't know how they could improve that.
Well, maybe just by it being a happier time. Maybe there's just more verdant land. Maybe there's happier people. You remember Gimli making the comment, "You'll find more cheer in a graveyard." And everyone's depressed, and it looks like they're economically depressed because their king Theoden, has been under the thumb of Wormtongue and Saruman for so long. So maybe we're going to get to see Edoras and the Golden Hall during brighter, happier times. And I think that might be reflective in the way that they visualize the whole environment, is that it's a happier time for them. At least at the beginning of the story.
Moving on, spoilers for the opening of War of the Rohirrim. We are introduced to Hera's mother as she reproaches her daughter for not being properly dressed to receive the delegation from Dunlending, from Dune. So before
From
this arrival
Dunland,
before the arrival of this delegation, Hera interacts with a page about the coat of arms of the protective damsels of Rohan. I think this is a translation error. This is the Shield Maidens.
Shield Maidens.
Rohan.
Yeah, that is a Shield Maiden translation problem. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And the symbol, the coat of arms of the Shield Maidens, is a symbol that the king's advisor would like to see disappear due to its uselessness.
Okay.
Note that this
That's
sequence was
intriguing.
shown in last year in a very incomplete manner. So, they are setting up this idea that the Shield Maidens were an existing group, but the current administration or people in the current administration are like,
Yeah.
that thing's useless. The first introduction of Helm Hammerhand in the throne room of Meduseld gives an idea of the stature of the character. And it just looks amazing. A few provocations later, after the king's refusal to give up his daughter's hand to the Dunlendings, there's a clash. We are then treated to a montage of several epic moments of battles and confrontation, where Hera, in particular, proves that she is indeed the shield maiden, the protective shield maiden of Rohan.
Wow, that's so cool. It looks like nobody signed a non-disclosure agreement because everyone's just spilling the beans. Really spilling the beans here.
So that's just the first 20 minutes. So the movie opens with a flyover of a map of Middle Earth, as we would come to expect, and then it fades into eagles soaring above the landscape, and then the camera dives into the girl on horseback. Oh man, this is exactly how you open a Lord of the Rings movie.
I think this is exciting that she's trying to be all Dr. Dolittle and make friends with the animals at first. You know, that's really kind of cool. That's really cool. She's trying to make friends with these great eagles. That's so cool.
So with these new articles on War of the Rohirrim, Cliff, has your enthusiasm gone up? Because between the mention of the Ents and the description of the opening sequence, mine has gone up like 40%. Like, I am so hype right now for War of the Rohirrim. It sounds exactly what it needs to be.
It does. I'm blown away that they're spending more on it, more time and more money. And I'm also kind of surprised that people are getting away with spilling these beans. And nobody signed a non-disclosure agreement. I don't know. Wild. That's wild.
To
boy,
clarify, everybody in the chat room, this movie has officially licensed Howard Shore's music, themes, and leitmotifs for this movie.
Yes.
It is being authored and scored and conducted by Gallagher, but with the main themes, the main title themes of Rohan that you expect that Howard Shore created are in play on this movie. So it's the best of both worlds. They've licensed the music we come to expect from Howard Shore, and someone new is basically remixing it for his own movie and adding all the new stuff. We're really excited.
I'm very stoked about this for so many reasons that I've talked about for months. This is a very exciting thing. And a little bit jealous of those people who were at Annecy in France and got to see this. Really jealous. Then again, wait. I've got another part of my brain that says if you were going to show me 20 minutes of this animated film now, I might actually say, no, I'll wait. I'd like to see the whole thing on its own, part of the entire story as a complete package. I think I might want to wait.
The music is supposed to sound amazing. All right, we are an hour into the show, and we've only gone through half of all of the Lord of the Rings news from the past week. So, Cliff, our next big story, what should we focus on? We can talk about the updates from Tales of the Shire video game, or we can talk about the updates from Rings of Power. What should go first?
I think we should dive into that new trailer. Perhaps let's start with the new trailer for the video game, Tales of the Shire. Let's start with that.
All right, let's play it.
Welcome home, Hobbit. If you've ever wanted to live like a hobbit from the Lord of the Rings, now a leisurely existence nestled away in an idyllic, quiet corner of Middle-earth can be yours. Customize your appearance, decorate your home, and settle into life in the Shire. As a newcomer to the little haven of Bywater, you'll befriend your neighbors, work together to solve problems, and even share a meal. Or 3. Explore, garden, fish, forage, and cook. The best way to build a Hobbit community is by hosting a dinner party with your homemade dishes. Plus, you can trade with your neighbors for unique decorations or special ingredients for even tastier meals. Friendly hobbits and familiar faces await your arrival when Tales of the Shire launches on the Nintendo Switch system this holiday.
Wow. Wow,
Cliff.
there was Gandalf.
There was
Gandalf
Gandalf.
standing right there.
You saw him.
Well, there he was being an official disturber of the peace, because that's what he's officially doing, a disturber of the peace. You know what? The emphasis on cooking is one of the funniest, funny, cool things about this ever. It's so funny. So cool.
Anonymous girl in the chat room says, for some reason, this reminds me of Township. You are correct. Yeah. Because in addition to this new trailer, Kelly, Rice, and I, Happy Hobbit, and I were able to connect with the producers of this game, and each of us have published an article on theonering.net. This is Morgan Jaffet, the executive producer of the game, and Calliope Ryder. They are both on Instagram, and I believe Calliope is active on Twitter. You should give them a follow. These are the main producers of the game, which is being fully made in New Zealand by Weta Workshop. Kelly and I got to talk with them for a couple hours, and so each of us, Kelly and I, have two articles. One that I did more of a Q&A, and Kelly really dived into a more descriptive version of the game. There's a bunch of new details from this trailer and from these articles, and in this, Township is one of the games that Calliope talks about loving and playing a lot of. The other games I actually wanted to know, and so if we scroll down to what games are the developers playing, Calliope says she loves Frostpunk, which has a new sequel coming out, Dreamlight Valley, Firewatch. She also says Dorfromantik and Stardew Valley are some of the games that she's been playing. Morgan says he's an old school gamer. He's showing his age here, but he says Ultima 4, Dungeon Master, Device 6 is a mobile game from the studio that did Year Walk. People love Year Walk, Y-E-A-R, like a year walk. And he's got kids, so he's been playing a lot of Marvel Snap, but he loves System Shock 2, Ultimate Underworld, Deathloop. Oh yeah. Ultimate Force. So those are the games that these guys love to play. Of course, it is being distributed by Private Division, which is owned by the same company, Rockstar, that does Grand Theft Auto. So we have two wonderful interviews. They're long form. It's like 20,000 words when I finished all of it between our two articles. So we highly recommend going to theonering.net after the show for a nice little cozy long read about the making of the games, what it's like developing games in New Zealand, and the whole scene around it. They talk about how Weta made a Magic Leap game that never released and everything like that. So Tales of the Shire.
Yes. Absolutely.
Cliff, this is the first trailer that they really showed off the cooking and the decoration of your Hobbit hole. I mean, that looks like the whole game is just about decorating your home and cooking for friends. Is that all you want out of this game?
Animal Crossing. All I wanted was Animal Crossing in Middle-earth. And that means making silly little turnips sprout on my island, decorating my little area to be my personal kind of cool place, and going to trade all the fun little things that I need to trade so I can upgrade my little Animal Crossing island. Waiting for the day when Elijah Wood would come onto the game server and come in and trade some turnips from me so my Animal Crossing would go suddenly viral. Hello, Elwood. Nice to see you, Elwood. You want to trade? Let's trade. So let's see how long it takes before Dominic Monaghan or Billy Boyd come into Tales of the Shire and start surprising fans on the game server wanting to trade daffodils or oh,
Or
you
just
caught some trout. I'll trade you the
join for a
trout for
meal.
some potatoes. Let's trade. Potatoes for trout. Sounds good.
In Kelly's article, they really talk about the idea of like this game is really built around the fangirl experience and how like a lot of this is about like playing for a few minutes and then put it away and we'll come back to it later in the evening. Like it's meant like as start and stop. It's not like a big quest game where it's like, hey, we got to go finish this dungeon, and next thing you know, you spend an hour, like accomplishing a task. It's just cozy. It's meant to be picked up, put down. That's why it was part of the Switch, Nintendo Switch direct video feed today. The question from the chat,
I hope that there's
Cliff,
a Mac. I hope there's a Mac emulator so I can play it on my.
There's not going to be a Mac. It's going to be playable on your phone thanks to Netflix and, of course, all the social media.
Oh, yes, that's right. That's also true. But, I mean, there's all kinds of emulators for PC and Mac, so you never know what might happen down the road. But, yeah,
Mac
I'm excited
is not
to
an
play
official platform on this game. I just want to... We're not fake news. But, Cliff, a question from the chat room.
One can hope.
At the end of the trailer, it says Holiday 2024. What does that mean as far as dates? What does that normally mean when it says coming holiday?
That usually means late December. That usually means mid-December or late December, usually.
Right before Christmas, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole bunch of holidays that are all stuck into the very end of December. Lots of holidays. So that is probably what they're talking about. Second week, my prediction, second week of December.
Second week of December is the release of War of the Rohirrim.
Yeah, well, they're going to coincide with that so that they can get a lot of attention on that.
Do you think this releases after War of the Rohirrim?
Same time. Get in on that wave. Big wave of attention. Or if they want to time it out a little bit differently, then, well, look. We will already have season 2. Season 2 of The Rings of Power will be fully out by then. Right. So they might want to ride the wave of marketing with New Line Cinema, maybe.
That's quite possible. It is a Weta Workshop thing. The other thing I would say is when it comes to games and movies and TV shows, us fans can wait for a quality product. So I just want to say, if there's any technical delays, if the game needs a little more time to bake in the oven, this game is all about cooking. If this cooking game comes out undercooked, then the game is cooked. So take your time. And we haven't heard any rumors that it's going to get delayed any further. But I just want to say, when there's an abstract release date like this, when there's hey, it'll come out later this year sometime. I just want especially in the gaming industry, us fans can wait. If it takes another month or two to fully bake, I'm happy to pick it up in February. Like, the sales are going to be just as good. I promise you guys.
I agree.
So
I agree.
Take your time. Weta Workshop, this is your first video game. So take your time.
Take your time. That's great advice. That's actually great.
Game. So, I see comments in the chat saying, I want it October 31st. I want it immediately. I want it. It's like, this game will come out when it's ready to come out. You can't speed up cooking.
To quote the immaculate Orson Welles, we shall sell no wine before it's time.
That's right.
There you go. Right.
Yeah, I just want to say that no matter the energy and enthusiasm of fans, we're ready to play this game when it's fully done. I think recent video games in the Lord of the Rings license kind of were undercooked upon release. and that wasn't a
Oh,
fun experience.
yep.
So we
Yep.
don't need to
I
talk about
remember.
them, but
I
take your
remember
time,
that, but
Weta.
yes.
Take your time.
Yeah.
Here's the
We
thing.
don't mind.
And here's the thing about Weta and time. Look at what happened with the Hobbit movies. Everybody
Okay.
knows everything was rushed. And what happened? When things rush,
That's what
quality
happens.
suffers.
Yep, indeed.
So there you go. All right, moving on. Before we jump into the latest Rings of Power news, we got breaking news on
Ooh.
the House of the Dragon ratings. Season 2 debuted on Sunday night. As you
That's
know,
right.
that
and
is
I have
the
been
other.
trying to avoid spoilers ever since. Yes.
Well, you need to watch it on Sundays. Obviously, we won't be able to watch it live on this Sunday because we'll be watching The Lord of the Rings in theaters. But
yes.
Season 2, and we don't have to. We're not supposed to compare House of the Dragon and Rings of Power, but we're going to.
I wouldn't dream of it.
Everybody does, because it's two fantasy shows with two giant budgets that are both attempting to create a cultural zeitgeist around them. So it's not the fans that want to compare them. It's the studios that said, Jeff Bezos said, bring me the next Game of Thrones. And that's how Rings of Power started. So this is literally, the studios are in competition with themselves. And fans get to receive
That's fair.
the generous budgets of that competition. So I'm really excited. So we all know the ratings and reviews of Rings of Power, and we all know the ratings and reviews of House of the Dragon, which got a higher completion
From season
rate
1, you mean?
and better
From season 1.
of season 1, Rotten Tomatoes. Across the board, people enjoyed House of the Dragon season 1. The expectation was season 2, with all of its giant marketing around the Empire State Building and across the world, the positive vibes, the tens of millions of views on their trailers on YouTube and everything. The expectation is season 2 opener would be as big as the season 1 opener. The numbers are in. HBO Max second season debut is half. It's 50% of season 1's giant debut.
Well, how about them apples?
This is across both linear TV, watching on HBO, and on streaming on Max.
Indeed. Wow, this is intriguing. That's an intriguing bit of news.
So
I wonder what's behind that. What is behind
well-reviewed, highly anticipated, well-marketed, big-budgeted fantasy show with dragons premieres to half the audience. Unfortunately, I'm exhausted already thinking about, if this was Rings of Power, what the Twitter and YouTube hate rage machine would say about half the audience. Like they would not have nice things to say. But
no, they would just spout a bunch of absurd nonsense. But the genuine numbers here that are quoted in this article, it says that it went down from 2.3 million down to 1.3 million households during the initial first day offering, June 16th. Okay. Wow.
That's right. So
I wonder.
Cliff, your initial reaction was like, is this a symptom of something bigger than the show? Has TV viewing habits just changed?
I wonder, because when I asked questions from my nerd friends, I said, please tell me, non-spoiler, what's your opinion of this first episode of House of the Dragon? And I got nothing but over-the-top adjectives of amazing, stunning, absolutely gobsmacking. And all my friends having their little viewing parties are just like, man, I was busy doing a wedding ceremony, so I couldn't go. But boy, howdy, these people were telling me wild positive feedback on episode 1 of House of the Dragon season 2. So I'm wondering, if it's really that good, do we need to wait on word of mouth for the numbers to change and for those numbers to go up, 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 up? Do we need to wait for that?
Do they need to go up, or is this just the new baseline for tentpole television?
Good question. It's a very good question, but how can that be so when people are aware of it now more than they were before. House of the Dragon was an unknown commodity in some. All right, look, it wasn't really completely unknown. Everybody knew everything
Neither
about.
was Rings of Power. Rings of Power had the
Was not
same
completely unknown.
opportunity,
But
right?
why years later, with the success of season one, would it be lesser? I'm wondering about this. I'm wondering about this.
The reason I wanted to bring this up is when season 2 of Rings of Power debuts August 29th, and the numbers, hopefully they're equal to last time, but based on what's happening across all television shows, whether it's Star Wars or Marvel or this or that, we should go in expecting that the numbers are going to be lower. But that is not a death knell. That is, and
not
so
really.
this, like Cliff just said, everybody's reviewed this new season episode with incredibly positive ratings. So, going into Rings of Power, if the numbers hold the same, a 50% reduction for Rings of Power season 2, that is not a failure. That is actually probably the most standard of the industry of television watching. We have to prepare ourselves for clickbait headlines that are going to spell doom and gloom. And I want to tell the fans that are watching the show, don't get bogged down by the doom and gloom if the numbers are
nonsense.
low. Because this show, this Dragon show, is getting horrible numbers. This is not normal.
Well,
and it's
on
well
Rotten Tomatoes,
reviewed across the board.
I'm just looking real quick. 92% critics, certified fresh, with 92% critics tomato meter score. What is the audience score? Barely right behind it, 88%.
Yeah.
Fully satisfied, very satisfied, 88%.
So
that's a big satisfied audience.
If the best of the best of shows, if the best of the best of shows has a drop of 50%, prepare for doom and gloom headlines for Rings of Power, even in a best case scenario. It is not going to reach the triumphant heights that the season 1 premiere did. Because that's just the changing face of television. But don't get depressed on doom and gloom. And unfortunately,
I agree.
Don't have internet debates about it because you just get suckered into the bad faith.
I fully
argument.
agree with that.
So
no point in having any of those bad faith debates online.
But
especially
they're going to try to
crappy,
bait us.
unmoderated platforms. Yeah, they are. They're going to come for. If we're just sitting here saying, "Oh wow, Rings of Power is pretty cool and really interesting," they're doing some really interesting stuff this season. It's going a little bit here, it's going a little bit there, and watching it all unfold. And I'm going to have a good time. I know that I will have a good time watching all the newness of it, the novelty of it, and watching what interesting new directions they go with Bombadil and Adar, and now that it's all going to be Celebrimbor and Anatar. So it's going to be really interesting to watch. So I'm into it.
This is the best
just saying
case
that
scenario.
Much, it means I'm going to get attacked for being a shill just because I'm interested and really cool with seeing how things go.
Don't get bogged down.
Don't ever get into that.
Don't get bogged down by clickbait headlines. They're already
never.
Never. This is the best case scenario. So if Rings of Power does 50% of season 1 opening, then Rings of Power is a success. It's as big as the House of Dragon.
Sure.
If it does 51%, it means Rings of Power is better than House of the Dragon.
Yeah, I get that. But I think the real analysis can only happen after we look at the numbers when all of the shows are out in completion. Completed season 2 all the shows
through.
And then we should do a more careful analysis of the ratings and the numbers and how things went up and down and how they changed. We should check this out, and then we'll have a bigger conversation, and we'll bring in Bill Hunt, who is the guy from the Digital Bits, who does all this.
He does DVD stuff, and Rings of Power is not out on DVD, will never be on DVD. So I don't know if he'd be the right person because he only talks about DVDs, and Rings of Power will never be on DVD.
But we don't know that yet. But industry professionals are the kinds of people I want to bring onto the show so we can ask for their expertise. That's the point. Thank you. for
There you
letting
go.
me make my point.
All right,
We
so
want industry professionals to help us do this analysis, and I
So
think
I'm
it also
telling
is going to be
everybody,
a
don't get bogged
comparison
down.
between the home video world, the streaming world, and our consumer appetites. Because I think our appetites
there
are
will
changing
no
as
be
consumers,
home
but
videos available for Rings of Power in time this year. This year, period.
do you
So
want? Would you be surprised? Raise your hand in the live chat. Everybody with us in the live chat, raise your hand if you would be shocked that there's any home video release of anything Rings of Power in the spinning disc media. I would be delighted to see it, but raise your hand in the chat if you'll be surprised if we ever see a Blu-ray or 4K UHD release. If you're going to be surprised, show me your hands in the live chat, because I do wonder what is going to happen next to the whole industry. If the entertainment industry is
it's 50%.
struggling,
That's what's happening. We don't have to guess. It's right here. It's 50%.
what happens next? What happens next to this
Exactly.
behemoth, which is the streaming world? What happens next?
It's 50%. So, all right, moving on.
Okay.
There is a second Game of Thrones spinoff. There
Okay.
is, separate from House of Dragons, there is a second Game of Thrones spinoff called Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
Oh, that's
And
the
they
Dunk
have-
and Egg story. Yes.
They have
Yes.
released, today they've released their actors, and Cliff, something that Rings of Power still refuses to do. They have announced the actors and the character that they will be playing. I am begging Amazon to learn from this wonderful marketing of the Game of Thrones spinoff
Yeah, well,
and
this is the way to do it.
announcing
This is the way to do it.
actors with their character names.
Oh,
Please.
let's show this full screen. Let's show this full screen to all the folks at home, so
It
they can
is.
see exactly.
So
Look at that.
That's,
Look at that. Okay.
This is great marketing. I thought Amazon would have heard us last time when we said, "Hey, enough with this mystery boxing with the hands posters and not telling us who any of the actors are until the show comes out." I'm like, please, Amazon, please learn this. Learn this. Tell us who the actors are and tell us what characters are playing. It's really that simple. You want us to be champion of your show and get hype for your show?
Yep.
And carry that hype for 2 years between seasons? This is the type of marketing that we need. Just give us the information to get hype. The mysteries don't do the show any justice.
I certainly back you up on that opinion, sir. Back you up on that.
Speaking of
Yes.
fans, thank you to the Unhinged Fellowship for making this this remix of the most recent social media trailer that Amazon put out. Thank you to the Unhinged for giving me exactly what I want out of this show: an evil baby girl. Yes, that is right. That is Halbrand.
What is that?
A.K.A. Sauron. Cliff, do you think the name Halbrand will never be spoken about again in this show now that Sauron's revealed?
Yeah, I don't think that Halbrand will be that name ever used again, unless Sauron finds it useful to continue using the disguise with somebody else who still doesn't know who he really is, except for that circumstance. Yes.
All right, speaking of good marketing, I know that Amazon has it in them, because Cliff, check this out. The Boys, which I watched the first 2 or 3 episodes this week, and the new season of The Boys on Amazon Prime is incredible. And guess what they're doing? The Boys Season 4 takes full advantage of Prime Video's most overlooked features, and that feature is X-ray vision.
The X-ray vision is a unique feature. Yeah, I've always thought that was an interesting thing.
So check this out.
Prime Video.
Alex Zalman on Twitter says, if you're not watching The Boys with Prime Video's X-ray feature on, you're missing half the jokes. And here's here's a screenshot from inside. If you're watching and you turn on X-ray vision on your Amazon Prime watching experience, it has pop-up video. It's basically pop-ups of information. And general trivia, it says, actor Rob Benedict wants to remind everybody that he studied Shakespeare at Northwestern University, and there is no contractual obligation for us to carry out this request. This is merely a kind gesture. So,
funny.
The actor
They're
would
just
like
sticking weird jokes in there.
The actor would like people to know that he is not just a shirtless dude in the Boys TV show, that he studied Shakespeare at Northwestern.
At Northwestern. And he could probably fall off the stage as Falstaff better than Ian could. We, the producers, don't really care whether you know, but this actor feels like he could fall off stage too, if he wanted.
So,
yes.
Prime Video's X-Ray feature, they are Prime for the new season of The Boys. Prime is using X-Ray to deliver jokes with the show. So, let me ask you, Cliff, if we did a rewatch of season 1 of Rings of Power before season 2 came out, would the show benefit if the X-Ray feature included all of the information that we've learned over the last 2 years on lore and reasoning? It's kind of like watching with a commentary track on, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think that would be kind of fun. That would be really funny if they did. But here's an interesting this is possibly a problematic thing. Wheat-Bix. Hello, Wheat-Bix in the YouTube chat. Our person in the live chat is saying that they put AI answers in the X-Ray page for Rings of Power. I didn't know that. Really? Is that a joke? That's not a joke. Is that a joke?
That is not a joke. That is not a joke. I did not know that.
Really? So, I didn't know that.
Folks, Amazon, dude, this is your biggest budget show. Like, Jeff Bezos will give you the pass, will give you the money. Spend some time on all of these features. Spend some time with the marketing. Think this through. Give us fans all of the information we need to be a champion of the Rings of Power show. The more mysteries you play on us, the less we can defend it. We need all the ammunition we can get to convince all of our friends and family and strangers on the internet that this show is wonderful and exciting and steeped in lore. And you can do that if you update your X-ray vision and tell us, like, on that shot of the raft at the beginning of episode 3 of season 1 of Rings of Power, or no, the ending shot of episode 2, when we see the shadow of Elendil on the raft, put it in the X-ray vision. Hey, this shot is inspired by this painting that's hanging in the Louvre.
Or inspired by this shot from the Lawrence of Arabia film or something like that.
There you go. Yeah, there's so many things that Amazon could be doing with X-ray vision, just pulling from all of the many dozens and dozens of text interviews that the showrunners have done over the years. This is the stuff that we want, that we need, and I hope the success of X-ray vision on The Boys inspires Amazon to do better for Rings of Power.
Yeah. Color me intrigued.
All right.
Very intriguing.
This is Total Film Website, a British magazine who also got the exclusive, Cliff. Lord of the Rings says, Rings of Power say season 2 is all about the villains and everyone might not make it out alive. Woo, that's a spoiler.
Well, no, it's not. We know what happens to Celebrimbor. We've read the books. We know what happens.
Have we now? So,
yes, we have.
Have we all?
It's on you to read.
I want to be entertained.
It's on you. It's on you to read.
No, I feel like I should love this show more than anybody because I don't come in with any expectations except being entertained. Here is a brand new photo that
I love having to correct you all the time.
Total Film got the exclusive reveal for the dwarves. Yes, folks, Total Film.
And we are counting the rings on his hand. What kind of rings does he have in his hand? We're looking at that now.
1, 2, 3, 4 rings on one hand and one four-finger ring on another. Cliff, does Tolkien describe the value of what finger a ring is on? You know how like
No,
in
never,
our current, so
never,
he doesn't say that your ring
never.
finger signifies marriage or anything like that.
No, no,
Okay,
no.
interesting.
Um, and I don't think there's ever a mention anywhere. I mean, even when Gandalf notices that Saruman is wearing a minor ring, I don't think he specifies the finger, really.
If we pull up a photo, it looks like the 3 elven rings are being worn on their middle finger.
Middle fingers, okay.
Look at that. Look at
Okay.
that. The rings are being worn on the middle finger. If we go back to Durin, King Durin, look at that big shiny stone on his middle finger. He is wearing his ring of power on his middle finger.
I appreciate Otaku Senpai in the chat reminding us very simply that all of the rings of power were set with gemstones. All of them except for the one ring, which was unadorned and had no gems. That's good
canon?
to remember.
Is that canon?
That is absolute canon. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's very useful to remember that.
All right, so this is our first look at King Durin. I'm really excited because this King Durin, the old man Durin, is being played by Peter Mulan, who was in Westworld season 2, one of my favorite shows of all time. Westworld is one of my favorite shows of all time. I was dying.
It was. That was great.
I was dying for Jonathan Nolan, the showrunner of Westworld, to take over Rings before they announced McPain, because Jonathan Nolan, oh man, Westworld. So this guy was in Westworld, and he's just a wonderful actor. He plays a really good bad dad. He plays a really good hard driving father.
Oh my God, the way he exiled his son at the end of season 1. Spoilers. Oh man, not really exiled, but removed him from the line of royal succession.
Yeah, see, that's what I want. X-ray vision. They don't explicitly say that in the show. I need X-ray vision to tell me the significance of removing his armor or whatever he's removing from.
Yeah, he's removed from the line of succession, but he's not exiled out of the realm.
They don't say that in the show. They don't say that he's removed from succession.
Yeah, don't they make it abundantly clear?
Not to
that he'll no longer be. He will no longer assume the throne when his father is gone. That's exactly what that's about.
No.
Yeah. He will no longer assume the throne when his father is gone. That's why he takes the mantle. He takes the mantle off of him. Yes.
All right. Well, okay.
And it's kind of like understanding the difference between exile, like mortal exile. You are out of this kingdom. Take your wife and your kids with you. Don't ever show your face. Do not ever darken my door again. That's exile. But that is not what happened. He was he removed his royal title. And you could consider, he's no longer HRH. He is no longer His Royal Highness. He's no longer HRH. That's how I understand it.
All right. Well, I'll go with that.
I mean, Prince Durin is no longer HRH.
This is a tease to a longer form article that'll be on newsstands next week. So Total Film is a magazine that's available in England, and other places. So Total Film will have a multi-page spread on the Rings of Power in a couple weeks' time. So do pick up that new issue.
That'll be really a good read.
But here is a tease. Here's a tease. Cliff, would you like to respond to this? Showrunners Patrick McKay and J.D. Payne say, "We like to say that season 1 was primarily about our heroes." Do you agree with that statement?
Yes, to a large degree, because the mystery boxing kept Sauron off stage until the very, very, very last of it, when it was revealed, his identity was revealed. So, I would say that is primarily
The problem I have
clear.
with that
clear.
statement is season 1 deconstructs all of the heroes by the end of season 1, nobody's a hero. Durin has been dethroned, right? You just talked about that. So he's failed in the eyes of someone. Galadriel is lying to everybody and keeping her little secrets and unleashing the
For the
great
moment,
evil on the world.
At least for the last few minutes of that episode, she is not disclosing yet.
Yeah,
what happened with Sauron? Yeah. But I wonder, that's a big tricky spot to put.
Sadok is dead. The little Harfoot girl disobeys the teachings of her tribe and leaves her tribe and abandons her family, which goes against all the teachings for the whole season of the culture of Harfoots. So it's like none of the heroes in season 1 are heroes. They don't. Their character arcs. None of them were heroes. So I don't understand that. Anyway, they continue.
Okay, but I think it's just basically because we didn't spend so much time focused on Adar. We only spent some little bit of time with Adar.
Sure.
And that's about it. And then of course Sauron was kept off stage in a mystery box for episode after episode after episode. So that's why I'm thinking that. Yeah.
This time Sauron's agenda sets everything in motion. Adar and his army of orcs, Galadriel, Elrond, and Gil-galad and their armies of elves, all of which come crashing together in the most ambitious battle our show has seen yet. A battle from which many big players may not make it out alive. Cliff.
Yep.
They say many big players. As far as I know, only one big player. Who else do you think would they kill off in this big battle?
Maybe some of the brand new. How about Estrid? How about the brand new character that they just introduced at the IGN Live event last week? Maybe the new character Estrid will be killed by the end of. We don't know. We don't know.
Amid the new battle lines, one of season 1's more minor characters will take the limelight. Elvin Smith Celebrimbor becomes what McPain call the principal protagonist, and his dynamic with Sauron becomes the central relationship. Cliff, this is the most exciting statement to come out of marketing yet.
Yep, it sure is, because it's exactly what we asked for and what we anticipated would happen in season 1. It was exactly what we anticipated and were thirsty for 2 years ago. Yes.
I just before we move on, I just want to take a side note. And I don't fault season 1 for shortchanging Celebrimbor's story, because as we've understood it and reported, there was late changing. They recast the actor. They filmed like half the show of season 1 with the original actor, and he wasn't working out in the edit. Like, it just wasn't working out. And late in the game, they recast Celebrimbor, and they reshot all the same scenes. We've seen footage of scenes that are the exact same, but with the new actor and the old actor. So there was a lot cut out. I believe, based on our rumors, that I don't know if we've told you everything yet, that there was a lot of stuff that was originally scripted and shot with Celebrimbor for season 1 that was cut out and never refilmed for when they recast him. They just ran out of time, they ran out of budget, and they did not reshoot all of Celebrimbor's story. So when anyone in any of our reviews of Rings of Power, you're still muted, Cliff. We cannot fault.
You were talking about Tom Budge, right? Yes.
Yeah, but we won't fault the short changing of Celebrimbor in season 1, because that was a technical issue because of the recasting.
Yeah, that's understandable. Completely understandable.
We know some of the stuff that was cut from Celebrimbor in season 1, and boy is it exciting. Boy was it exciting. And I think this is going to be his show. This is, if anyone has a banner year, this is Celebrimbor's. All right, moving on.
I agree.
Total Film
I
has
agree.
exclusive new image. The new episodes delve into the consequences of him disowning his son for excavating mithril against his wishes. A recurring quote, a recurring motif in mythology centers around a king's failing health, leading to a sickness in the land that endangers the entire kingdom, says the showrunners. Season 2 sees a fractured relationship between King Durin and his son take on a similar, larger dimension. So it seems nothing will be same again. In addition to this quote, we have previously reported that the actress that plays Disa has stated that her character takes on a Lady Macbeth role in this political drama. What does that mean, Cliff, when she says it's kind of a Lady Macbeth story? Does this all sound like a retelling of Macbeth with dwarves?
No, it's not a retelling of Macbeth. However, the analogy is drawn, and I understand why that she is saying this, and why any of us would understand it better, is because Lady Macbeth is the iconic Shakespearean character of a powerful, a darkly motivated, powerful woman who is behind the throne, pulling mental strings of her husband so that the king on the throne makes some really whack decisions. That's the analogy. But it's not necessary for them to retread the story of Macbeth in that regard. Not in full. But the analogy is there because you're looking at who's that pulling the secret strings of the monarch? Well, it's his devious wife. That's the Lady Macbeth analogy.
All right. Well, that is the full preview of Total Films. They're going to have,
Agreed.
I'm sure, when this issue comes out next week in print, they will have, they will be revealing a bit more about the dwarves and maybe Celebrimbor.
Do you know what all this dwarf preparation is telling me? One thing, Justin.
What?
A ring of power will be given to King Durin. That's why it's all front and center.
It's right there on his hand. It's that giant blue...
Nothing's confirmed. They haven't confirmed it yet. We know it's coming.
We know all the other rings are being worn on the middle fingers, and that giant blue stone is the ring. I'm just calling it now. The ring of power is in this photo. I'm going to claim it. I'm ill-informed. I am uninformed. And I'm calling it as I see it.
Okay. Well, wait. Didn't that teaser trailer show the ring? Didn't we see Durin picking up and looking at that dwarven ring?
A big blue ring.
Yeah, with the big stone, that big blue stone in it. Yes.
Yeah, so there you go.
That's exciting. Okay.
The evil baby girl strikes again. All right, gosh. Finally.
Wow. What a bunch of news we have. Lots of news today.
I've got one. We linked in the video description to an article that we think you should read. It is called "We Are the Raven Fed." If you Google it, exactly that phrase, you'll find it.
This is intriguing.
This is written by John Howe. We are the Raven Fed. John Howe wrote this in 2016. And it starts out with the sentence, just what is it about the making of pictures? Endless pondering on the nature of image making, of the desire and the need to make images, has left me no closer to that mirage, despite all the assiduous musing. Folks, I want you to read this because recently John Howe gave a talk at a convention, and we have yet to see the video of it. But he gave a talk on the current world of artificial intelligence, AI,
Mm.
copyright, and inspiration. So no less than John Howe, who's worked on Rings of Power with
Yeah.
Amazon, and Amazon is a company that loves AI, and we've talked about that many times. And he's worked with Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings, with Weta Workshop, and on War of the Rohirrim, who takes a more nuanced approach to AI or admitting to AI. I mean, some would say the massive animation system is AI, but we digress. So I asked John Howe this week, I said, is there a video of your talk on AI? Because we want to see it. And John Howe quickly responded, not yet, but you should read this first. So if you guys are interested in some context of where John Howe is coming from in his musings on AI, because you're going to see more of it. You're going to see more of it everywhere. It starts here in 2016, 8 years ago, with John Howe writing about the mirage of making pictures. We've linked to it in the description. It's a long article that he talks about the inspiration and perspiration, but it ends with the inspiration depends on the providence of these wing beats between worlds. If we frighten away the ravens and the crows, or become deaf to their cries, we forfeit our relationship with the world and what we can make of it. Fantasy is simultaneously poetic, disengagement from, and engagement with the world. Fantasy is simultaneously poetic disengagement from and engagement with the world. The trade between the two is the hazardous commerce of the artist, truly raven-fed. So John Howe has very specific perspective on what AI is, what it can do, how it can help, how it can hurt. But if you read this article that he posted in 2016, you start to get a wider view of
technology. Indeed you would.
And hopefully we can follow up with a more definitive conversation on AI in the future. So, but this is
a fascinating read. I'm glad you pointed this out to us today, Justin. However, for Google searching, I would not recommend typing in the phrase "We are the Raven Fed" all by itself. You need to add the words John Howe, because if you just type the phrase "We are the Raven Fed," you will get millions and millions of Bible verse discussions and conversations about scripture and theology, and it does make a reference to the Bible. So you type in the word John Howe along with "We are the Raven Fed," and you will directly find his blog post instead. Fastest way to find it.
Well,
it's going to be a fascinating read. I'm really glad you pointed this out to us.
From what I gather, he's still formulating his opinions around that, but he just gave a talk on AI, and I don't think that we should throw the baby with the bathwater. AI is a tool. You guys know we try to keep you up to date on all the things on AI, and we'll have more on AI in coming weeks. But God, this is just a huge show. 2 hours of news updates. We showed you the new trailer from Tales of the Shire and 2 new articles that you should read on the onering.net. Just go to our front page. There's 2 articles, one from me and one from Kelly. We told you the deep, detailed description about the first 20 minutes of War of the Rohirrim and how amazing that sounds. We told you about Peter Jackson ready to return to Tintin, of all things. And we gave you updates on Amazon Prime and The Boys and the ratings and House of the Dragon and X-Ray Vision, and of course the total film issue that's coming out this week. Just so much news, Cliff. So much.
So I'm really glad that the audience has had the stamina just like Ian McKellen has had the stamina to get back on stage at 85. And you, dear audience, have the stamina to stay with us for a full-length Torn Tuesday, where we break down all the news that is news that's fit to print. And wow, that's a lot of news. That's a hell of a lot of news. Um, I'm intrigued by all the crazy stuff that's coming out about War of the Rohirrim. I'm really intrigued by this. It's going to be amazing. And guess what? We're at the end of another beautiful weekly broadcast of Torn Tuesday. You guys also check on the front page of the OneRing.net and look at these amazing conversations we've had with the creators of the video game Tales of the Shire, and some really insightful articles as well, looking at all the stuff that was leaked and reviewed from the War of the Rohirrim. Boy, that's some great articles that we've got. And a brand new piece by myself about Ian McKellen's recovery after his stage fall. So click to it. Point your web browser over to the OneRing.net and enjoy all the stories we have there. Justin, hey, happy Juneteenth tomorrow. It's going to be a big, big day, celebration of freedom, freedom for all. And I'm excited. I've got a big wedding on Friday with a beautiful couple. It's going to be such a great weekend. After Friday, I will be with Justin in the 4DX theaters. And we hope that you folks can grab your ticket and experience stagecraft combined with theatrical experience on a whole crazy high-tech scale. It is really invigorating and really exciting. And I hope that you can join us in North Hollywood for our viewings of The Two Towers and The Return of the King extended editions, both of them. How about that? You doing good, Justin? Are you doing good over there? You're doing good, aren't you? Very good. I want to say thank you to the beautiful people in the chat. Hello, everyone. Lovely to have you all with us in this live show. Good night to Twitch, Twitter, Discord, and Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Everybody, have a great night. And we will see you next Tuesday right here for more news, analysis, gossip, and breaking down all the good bits that we find out about the world and the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. Until then, please do take good care of yourselves. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, QuickBeam2000. That's where I'm at. And we'll be seeing you right here next week at 5 p.m. Pacific time for more Torn Tuesday. Until then, good night and good luck. Or better yet, buenos noches y buena suerte. Bye-bye, everybody.